Hello, everyone. I am Derek Rogers. I am your board president for the next couple of years, in case you did not know. Before I get started with some of the festivities that we've got today, I want to say that how wonderful this is that we are at a Mississippi conference. I said this last night at our dinner. Yeah. So much so that nobody who'd been in it forever, like Kenny or Colin, could even tell us when the last time Mississippi had one on its own. And the fact that a few years ago, this didn't seem like this would ever be possible. We were in really dire straits in this association, and through the hard work of a lot of good people in this room, we were able to really bring this back. So the fact that we're all together, and I'm proud to say that we have shattered the number of people that ever came to Louisiana just in this first conference. And we know, and we know this is going to be something that's just going to grow, but I do want to give a thanks to our executive director, Amanda Fontaine, who has done everything you have seen here. And she truly is the Energizer Bunny if there ever was one. She can just go and go and go. When I took over as board president, I said that the first thing that I wanted to do was establish the Mississippi Association of Broadcasters Hall of Fame. We're one of the only state associations in the nation that don't have that. And I was stunned, because I'm a big believer, for those of you who know how much I respect the history of what we do and how it must be recognized and honored. So I called on three veterans, Kenny Wyndham, Johnny Boswell, and Tim Walker, to serve on the committee to research who would be appropriate. We had a lot of conversations, and they decided, and I thought this was very appropriate, that they would recognize 5 of the gentlemen who helped organize the Mississippi Broadcasters Association, as it was known then. And that date, November 28th, 1941, 80 years ago today, our 80th anniversary, and it's just a little bit late, but as we're saying to everybody, it's still 2021, as far as MAB is concerned. C.J. Chuck Wright Sr. of WFOR of Hattiesburg, and the association's first president in 1941 when it was established, and into 1942. Bob McRaney Sr., who was the owner of several radio stations. I'm going to not spoil that, Bob Jr. He was the association's second president. L.M. Max Sepaw of WSLI in Jackson, president in 1952. Hugh M. Smith of WLAU in Laurel, he was president in 1948. And Hoyt Wooten, who was actually credited with having the first commercial radio station in Mississippi, KFNG in Coldwater. Now, this was the fun part for me. They supplied the names to me of who was going to be inducted. So now we just had to find family members. That was a little bit more challenging, but that was fun. I had to locate the families of our inductees, and thanks to the internet, managed to find 4 of the 5 families. One of them is here today, and he's probably a huge future Hall of Famer himself. Bob McRaney Jr., wave, Bob. Bob was president of this association in 1969. And so instead of me going through a bio, hold please.
Bob McRaney and Helen McRaney and his brother Ed McRaney, he was in the business during the war. Broadcast Association, I became county as a kid. My dad had an antique car he brought with him and parked it at the old Broadwater Hotel. The waiter came over to my dad and tapped him on the shoulder and said, "Mrs. Brown wants to see you." She was the owner. Jumped up, went in, and she said, "Wow, we've got a traffic jam in the parking lot. There's people stopping by looking at your old car," and he had two of the one of his old cars. And that was the beginning of cruising the coast. They had over 9,000 cars registered last year and 100,000 people, tourists coming to Mississippi, all the way from Pascagoula and Moss Point to Bay St. Louis. So he's responsible for that. It wasn't called cruising the coast, but that's where it started, my friends. We're most grateful to accept this recognition. I was fortunate enough to know all of the other founders as a young boy. I'm glad to see several generations of broadcasters represented here. Pleasure to be with you. God bless you. God bless the United States of America and broadcasting.
Thank you so much again, Bob. The second family that I managed to find was of Max Sepaw. His granddaughter, Lulu Pyron, wanted to be here today, but unfortunately was unable to. Mr. Sepaw was an outstanding businessman and broadcaster who was the first manager of WSLI, later the vice chair of the Capital Broadcasting Corporation. He was a civic leader in Jackson, employed the first female announcers in Mississippi, and he was a lifetime member of this association. And I did most of this through Facebook and obits, by the way. The third was the granddaughter, Diane Wright of C.J. Wright, Sr., because there is a C.J. Wright, Jr. as well. And the great-granddaughter, Lynn Conrad Malkani, who's been texting with me for several weeks now, wanted me to pass along this quote. "My grandparents and parents would be so pleased that 98 years after Chuck first sat in front of a microphone and 87 years after he bought the station that became WFOR, that he is being recognized." His career started at WBRC in Birmingham in 1924. He later became the president of the Forest Broadcasting Company, in which he owned stations all across the state. The fourth was I was managed to locate the sons of Hugh Smith. Now, the fun part about this is his sons are Dr. William Smith and Dr. John Smith. I'm not sure there could be any simpler names. One's in Birmingham, one's in Tucson. Googled it, tried the first number, and believe it or not, that was it. He said, "As a matter of fact, I am Hugh Smith's son." And he began his career in Laurel at WAML. A few years later, he built and operated WLAU in Laurel. In 1949, he was elected to the board of the National Association of Broadcasters. He ended up selling his interest in WLAU in 1950 and continued his career in Montgomery, Alabama. The final inductee is Hoyt Wooten. I did manage to find someone who I believe was a granddaughter, probably, but I never did hear anything back from him. Now, his family members, other than her, were a lot more difficult to locate. He did move the KFNG radio to Memphis, where it ended up being WREC. And I did learn this fun fact, that in 1960, the concern over a nuclear attack was so great that he constructed the world's largest private bomb shelter. It is a massive 13-room complex beneath his Whitehaven estate that included dormitories for 52 people, a communications center, rec room, pool table, dining room, and I can't make this stuff up, a morgue. The complex was powered by generators fueled by underground storage tanks. And when the attacks didn't happen, he printed postcards of the whole thing, opened up his shelter for tours, and it is now a historical landmark. So here's to Hoyt Wooten. And ladies and gentlemen, the inaugural class of 2021 of the MAB Hall of Fame. All right, a couple more things. Since this morning we finally approved it, I guess we can sort of let the cat out of the bag, but he already knows it, so it's really not going to be a big surprise. As I'd mentioned about history, we have appointed a historian, and my choice for that historian is Kenny Wyndham, which he has accepted. When we were sort of in the dire straits of this association a few years ago, Kenny really stepped up. He was the board president at the time. He helped really lead us. I'm not sure I've seen anybody who loves this association more than Kenny Wyndham does. And you're a superhuman being. I love being able to call myself your friend, and I look forward to more of your knowledge as our first historian. So.
Leave Tim Walker out now, because he was the only one that had a brain throughout that.
I'm getting to that. I'm getting to that. I'm getting to that. So.
He made many trips from Meridian over here.
Well, you've segued nicely, Kenny, as usual. Tim Walker. Truly, when I tell you that I've made this joke before, and some of you guys have heard this. Y'all just listen again. That when we were without a director and we were really looking, Kenny went every day, checked the mail. Dennis took the phone. I took the checkbook, and Tim Walker did literally everything else. And I've never seen anybody work harder. And probably one of the, I guess it's funny now. I'm not sure we were having a whole lot of fun that day when I went to Meridian and we worked on the budget. I mean, we had a good time doing it. I mean, we laughed a lot. That was fun. Yeah, we did. Let's just get through it, I think we said. Let's just get through it. And we have done this a couple of times over the years, the last few years, and I'm really honored to be able to be the one to do this. Our newest lifetime member is going to be Tim Walker. All right, Yum, I'll make you come on. One of the two-time board presidents, by the way, 2003 and 2019. And I think the main goal of this is to make sure that this is the only one you get.
I won't feel fully vindicated until I get two, Kenny. And Colin, where's Colin? But no, this is really an honor. I started as technically the station manager in Meridian in my first time, and my claim to fame, I guess, that was the first cruise we ever went on, and the first one that we actually did as a joint effort with Louisiana. But a few years ago was really work. We found this association at a crossroads, and it was one of those things that there were so many of us, Derek and Kenny and Dennis and everybody that was involved at that time, and I'm leaving people out here, but we could not let this fail. And so we buckled down and we got through it, and we hired our new executive director, and here we are today. So this was not something anybody did alone. It took everybody, and it was certainly a effort of love on everybody's part. So thank you for this. I appreciate it greatly.
right, our final award, since this is kind of the fun part about Amanda, is that she'll just say, let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. Yeah, okay, sure. Why not? So we decided we'd make up another thing, and that's it's called the Friend of Mississippi Broadcasters Award. And this is the first time, obviously, we've ever given this award. And it is established to recognize someone that is not a broadcaster per se, that contributes so much to our great industry. And the winner is, I don't know if we could ever predict. Anybody want to guess? Maggie Clark! I mean, guys, she sponsors like everything we do.
And helps at registration for
Helps, I mean,
everything.
yes, registration for this and the awards too.
Y'all are too much, thank you.
Gotta say something.
I've loved this association since 1973. You should have told me this was gonna happen.
I told you to be at lunch.
Our job is, even though we're on opposite sides of the desk, we're on the same side of the desk because we're there to work together for our mutual clients, whoever those may be. And if you think differently, we're not in competition with each other. It's not our job as a media director to beat you over the head. It's your job to know the fair market price. It's my job to decide if we can make that work out. So, I love all of you, and thanks.
That concludes our ceremony. I'm just so proud of us being all together and that we were able to do this. We're in good hands, guys. This is going to continue to grow. We're in the right direction. Thank you all.
Okay, I have to say a huge thank you again to our Hall of Fame committee for making this happen. And I mean, Derek we decided he should be in the FBI or something, because every day we'd get a new email that was like, hey, guess who I found today? It was like really cool. So, and I do want to say thank you to Maggie for working registration, Allison and Ellie Muirhead. I'm sure y'all have seen our fabulous photographer around, and her daughter, and they, I hate she's not hearing this, but have been so much help. She even went and got me a Diet Coke this morning. And so Maggie, we do appreciate you for everything that you do, because you do support everything that we do, and we love you. And Tim Walker, wow, no one more deserving. Thank you for everything that you've done for the reason that we're still in existence today. So